I'd like to welcome you to another edition of the Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright Jr., the founder and host of this show. We are excited, very, very, very much so, because we are entering into our fifth year, believe it or not, of show production regarding this podcast. And so we started this work back in 2021. We just recently celebrated what would be our 4-year anniversary, and we're looking forward to continuing this work. And tonight we have a guest that I met several years ago. I was actually a superintendent in Hertford County, North Carolina, when I met my colleague that we're going to talk to in a few minutes. She was superintendent in Dare County, North Carolina, and provided some great mentorship and leadership to those of us that were fairly new in the superintendency. And we're excited to have her aboard to talk with us tonight. My guest is Dr. Sue Burgess. Dr. Sue Burgess served as a superintendent of schools for 24 years. And I'm going to repeat that. She served as a superintendent of schools for 24 years, including stints in King William County, Virginia, Spotsylvania County, Virginia, and Dare County, North Carolina. And before becoming a superintendent, she gained experience as a teacher and administrator in Davidson County Schools in North Carolina, and as a principal and director in Hanover County Schools in Virginia. Sue holds a bachelor's degree in secondary education from Ohio University, a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Virginia Tech, and a doctorate in educational administration from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. She has served as an adjunct faculty member at Virginia Commonwealth University and the University of Virginia. Dr. Burgess has been honored by the Virginia Music Educators Association and the Northeast region of North Carolina as Superintendent of the Year. She serves as the North Carolina Superintendent of Public Instruction's designee to the Board of Directors, which operates the Lost Colony. Sue has been a presenter at state and national conferences, including the American Association of School Administrators and the National School Boards Association. She is a past chairman of the Standards Committee of the Southern Education of Colleges and Schools and the former state president of Virginia Alpha Delta Kappa, which is an honorary sorority for women educators. Sue is a current member of the Virginia Association of School Superintendents, the North Carolina Association of School Administrators, and the American Association of School Administrators. She resides between Nags Head, North Carolina, and Walkerton, Virginia. Now, this time, I'd like to welcome to the Wright Experience my mentor, Dr. Sue Burgess, one of my mentee, many folks that I've learned a lot from. Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wright. It's such a pleasure to join you again. And I remember fondly when you came on as that new superintendent over in Hertford County, when I was in my final few years as superintendent in Dare County, North Carolina, which, as you know, when I left after 17 years at that time, was the longest serving superintendent in one school system in North Carolina. And colleagues like you were always helpful to talk things over with, and it's a pleasure to join you again tonight.
Certainly glad to have you, Dr. Burgess, and been wanting to get you up here, and I'm glad our schedules finally worked out. Before we get into the questions, Lost Colony. I went there as a child, but it's been a while since I've been there. So tell me about that work. Let's talk about that a little bit first.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because we're getting ready to celebrate our 88th season this summer. It opens May 29th and runs through August 23rd. Okay. And if you saw the show many years ago, or even as much as 10 years ago, it's really worth coming back to, because it's been totally revamped. It's takes advantage of modern technology, and it's been streamlined a little to be more family friendly on the hours, not quite as long. And it's very exciting. And I hope that anyone that comes to the Outer Banks for vacation to the beach don't miss out on a chance to see The Lost Colony, which is the country's longest running outdoor symphonic drama.
I think I was in maybe middle school believe it or not. So that's how very long it's been when I went last. But thank you for that. So Dr. Burgess, let's get right into some of the questions. You've done this work, you've done this superintendent work, you've been in what we call the traditional route of an educator that gets into the superintendency. Talk to us about that journey, and then a little bit, if you don't mind, about some of the things that you're most proud of along the way.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. To be a superintendent for 24 years, one of the things that was most important as my foundation for success was being a classroom teacher for 11 years in Davidson County, North Carolina, at a school, North Davidson Junior High School, it was called then, grades 7 through 9. I knew I was in a good place when I drove into the town, which was welcome, and the sign literally said, "Welcome to welcome." And that was a great place to start my career. And I have to give credit to some of my mentors along the way, especially Dr. Max Walser, who was assistant superintendent and later superintendent, is now a retired superintendent in North Carolina, that I'm glad to keep in touch with. But I really enjoyed the opportunity to work with students and the camaraderie that you develop with other teachers. I still keep up with those people. Social media can be a blessing and a curse, but where I find it a blessing is to keep up with those people that it was 50 years ago when I started my first year of teaching at North Davidson Junior High. So to be able to keep up with those teachers, and many of the students have found me on Facebook, and it's a pleasure to hear from them as well. Then moving up to Virginia to become a principal, I was in Hanover County at a school, John M. Gandy Elementary in Ashland. It was a wonderful school, and I still have friends and former students from there that I keep in touch with. I went over to the central office where I was lucky to work with Dr. Stephen M. Baker, who was my mentor there for many years. His son, Scott Baker, and I work together now, and I'll allude to that later. Hanover County was a wonderful place for me to learn and practice more about continuous improvement, which is a schematic way of improving things for teachers and students that I then applied in my 3 jobs as superintendent. And I'm very proud that I was able to get the training by attending conferences by Dr. W. Edwards Deming, who is considered the father of continuous improvement. I was able to, while I was in Hanover, see him 3 times and go to many workshops dedicated to continuous improvement. Then when I went to King William as superintendent, it's a community. It also borders Hanover County, and it's about 30 miles northeast of Richmond, a wonderful community. I loved my experience there, and I was there for 3 years before I moved to Spotsylvania County, Virginia, which had about 10 times as many students. And there I got a lot of experience in dealing with a larger school system and also a lot of construction projects that would come in handy when I moved to Dare County, North Carolina, where essentially every building either went through renovation or new construction during the time that I was superintendent. And what I'm really proud about is being able to apply the rubric of continuous improvement to do things such as lower the dropout rate considerably in each school system where I was superintendent and increase the graduation rate. And while it was measured in North Carolina from the time they started measuring it till the time that I left Dare County Schools, we were always in the top 10 for on-time graduation rate and many times number 1 or number 2 in the state. And that doesn't come about just by the superintendent. It comes about by teachers who encourage the students and principals who are working with the teachers. And so it's a school effort. It's not just one person, but I felt very good about that, and also being able to increase educational opportunities for students by increasing the number of AP, advanced placement, and also dual enrollment, college, and increasing our emphasis on career and technical education, which is so very important today. And I'm very glad to say that each place that I served as superintendent, they're still doing those things and have built and improved upon whatever I left behind. So I'm very proud of those things, of seeing those particular metrics increase in each place where I served as superintendent.
Wonderful. And you mentioned along the way in your recap um, about people who mentored you or helped you or uh, shared information that was helpful to you in your journey. So talk to us a little bit about the value of
I
mentoring.
did.
Why is that so?
I mentioned Dr. Walser. I also
Yeah,
mentioned Dr. Baker.
right.
Um, uh, Also in North Carolina, it was a pleasure to work with Dr. June Atkinson, who was the state superintendent, and Dr. Mike Ward. It was also very welcoming to me when I made the transition from, I started in North Carolina, moved to Virginia, and then came back to North Carolina. And it was so good to have those people and other fellow superintendents that you can call along the way to, is this a problem you've ever faced? And if so, how did you handle it?
Right. What do we do about this changing landscape? I'll leave that as a wide open question. This changing landscape in education. What do we do about it?
Well, there is a changing landscape, and I retired before the year of the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to deal with that. But one of the reasons that I have kept working as a support to educators through some jobs I have as an educational consultant was to help support them in things have become so much more, I hate to say political, but I want to say tough since the pandemic.
Yep.
There have just been so many problems added to whatever we had before. We always had challenges, but they seem to multiply geometrically after the pandemic, and I still see that today. I see it as a change in the political environment toward towards educators, toward public education in particular. And that's one reason that I'm interested in supporting the current practitioners out there in the field.
So that support work that you're talking about kind of leads us into where I was going next. What kinds of things are you doing and you think are important for today's learners? How or today's educational leaders? Let me be a little bit more specific. What things are important, and what things are you doing to help those of us that are still in the day-to-day grind? I'll put it that way.
Well, I would say that one of the things that I see that was always a challenge, but it's become even more so, is teacher retention, because teacher recruitment is very hard. There's fewer people who want to go into public education, fewer in the pipeline. And so a common phrase that I hear used is that retention is the new recruitment. And I'm working with two companies that I will name that I think are very important in helping with teacher retention and teacher recruitment. And the other thing that I'm still very interested in is continuous improvement, and I'll talk about my work with that. So let me start with the teacher retention. I've been retired now for 8 years. It's hard for me to believe. And for that,
it's been that long. Wow.
This is the 8th year. Yeah. And when the graduates cross the stage in a couple of weeks, it'll be the 8th time without me.
How about
after 24 years of going to all those graduation ceremonies.
Oh, yeah.
And in that 8 years, I've always worked for Pierce Group benefits. And I have found that a benefit package is really important to supplement teacher income and also to provide a level of protection for families when illness strikes or disability strikes or accidents happen. And I have found, especially when I was working in Dare County, where we had Pierce Group benefits, handling our benefits, I found that teachers would talk about the actual products that they had through Pierce Group, and they didn't want to go to another district where they might not have that. So I worked for Pierce Group for 4.5 years, for full time before I now work for them part time. But I see the difference that they make in streamlining the load. Really, it saves a lot of money for the central office people when someone else streamlines and signs the employees up for their benefits every year, and also helps the employees educate to find out. It helps them find out about what benefits are available to them. I didn't have that in any of the systems that I worked for in Virginia. And when I came to North Carolina and found out that it was a standard practice to have someone come in once a year and review with you what your insurance coverage was, I found out that it was a real perk, not only for me, but for all employees to have access to someone who could sit down and explain explore the possibilities. Not that you had to take anything, but you could take advantage. And I learned for the first time myself, the flexible savings account would save me tax money that I never knew. So I think that provides a great service to individual employees. Just like you might sit down once a year with your doctor, you might sit down once a year with a financial advisor, to have a chance to sit down once a year with someone who can explain to you what your possibilities are for insurance coverage, I think is very helpful. When I quit working for Pierce Group full-time and went on part-time status, another thing that as I said, I'm very interested in teacher retention, and I'm working with a company called Teach Upbeat. It's a company that conducts surveys that are based on educational research that connects teachers' engagement with their job to teacher retention. And the company gives research-based surveys twice a year. Then we at the company analyze the results, present it to district leaders. And then the part that I like the most is working with individual principals. As a coach, I'm a coach for principals in 3 states. I'm working with 5 districts right now. And we look at their results from their survey twice a year and pick out 1 or 2 areas that the principal might like to concentrate on improving their results in that particular area. And then we suggest resources and ideas that I might try. And it's a lot of fun. It's very edifying for me when I see those results go up in another 6 months after principals have tried some of the activities that they thought of on their own or that we suggested with resources. And I really love that opportunity to see teacher retention go up. And we also have research that shows for every point that an engagement score goes up, student success on standardized tests goes up half a point. So I think that goes to show that teachers who are happy and are doing well in their job are going to have a better relationship, and that students will get a better experience when teachers are happy with their working environment. Mm-hmm. And then to go to continuous improvement, I'm working with the Berkeley Group, headquartered in Virginia. And the Berkeley Group education team is about 3 years old. Our leader is Scott Baker. I mentioned before his father had been one of my mentors in Virginia. And the Berkeley Group can do everything. We can do mentoring, coaching of principals. We can evaluate programs. Right now they have evaluated a CTE program or career and technical education in a school system in Virginia, also special education in a couple of places. We're looking at getting into superintendent searches. And I personally have served on a team that has helped 3 school divisions, as they're called in Virginia, with their strategic plan. And when we're looking at a strategic plan, this is where I get to apply my continuous improvement model. We look at the mission, the vision, core values, and then what will the goals and strategies be to bring this about. And the mission, as you know, is the why. The vision, as you know, is the what are we going to do? The core values are how are we going to act and treat each other? And the goals and strategies is what are we going to prioritize and how are we going to measure if we're doing it? And that work I just truly love. And we've finished 2 school divisions in Virginia. We're working on a 3rd one right now. And that it keeps me so energized when we meet with the stakeholders. It's not our strategic plan. We meet with the stakeholders and take them through a series of activities. And they give us, we listen to them, then we draft, this is what we think we heard you say. Then we take it back to them and they can say, yeah, let's tweak that a little bit. But it's a tremendously advantage, especially for small school divisions or school systems that don't have very many people on the central office to do that on top of their other jobs. And even if they have a larger central office, to do this, to give justice to writing the strategic plan on top of all your other jobs is just, it's really hard. So I feel good that we're helping school divisions through the Berkeley group. Teach Upbeat, I think it's very important, also Pierce Group benefits, and I'm very proud to work for all three of them.
So you certainly have a full busy plate, even post retirement, and I'm going to get to some advice questions for you in a minute. But talk to those of us that are closer to the end of our career. I'll just put it that way, and not at the end, but close. About the transition. How did you make that transition, and what prompted you to do the work that you're doing now? I think would be.
Well, as you said, you start thinking about it some years before you retire, and I loved working in Dare County, and wasn't really sure that I could even make myself retire. But the magic numbers all lined up one year. I had 30 years experience. I turned Social Security age in the same year. It was the end of a contract, and I just decided, well, now's the time. And it's, I guess it's good to go out when you're on a high note. And I felt that things were on a high note. And actually was recruited by Glenn Pierce, who was formerly the senior vice president. He started Pierce Group Benefits probably about 55 years ago. And I was recruited by him to work there. But I had considered several things. The route that many consider is teaching at a college or university. My good friend Rob Benson, formerly superintendent in King George, also works with me in Berkeley Group. He's done that with East Carolina University. My friend Scott Baker that I mentioned also works for College of William and Mary. So that's one area that many people go into. I considered that, and East Carolina University being closest to where I now live was something that I seriously considered. And I never considered not doing anything. Another thing, I thought about working for for one of the superintendent search firms, because I'm really interested in personnel and matching superintendents with school boards and trying to bring about a good match. And what I've seen a lot of other superintendents do, they may work with perhaps an architectural firm that they might be familiar with. But what I did find is I was surprised that people would reach out to me. I was not sure how that would go, but I think, and I've talked to other superintendents. As I said, I mentioned Rob Benson a moment ago. I think he works for about 3 or 4 different groups as well. So there are a lot of opportunities out there that will come their way. So yes, there is life after the superintendency. It's different. There's some things I miss, and then there's some things I don't miss. You have more freedom when you're working part-time, and you have more freedom and flexibility in your schedule. But I do miss the people that I worked with. That's something I did not anticipate, is how much I would miss that. It's just automatic that you run into these people every day when you're working with them. But then when you're not working there anymore, it's not going to be automatic, and you're not going to see them, and you're going to miss them. And that is something I didn't anticipate to be as strong for me as it is. But I really miss those colleagues that I spent many years with. And that's something I miss. I don't miss some of the pressure. As you know, all superintendents have pressure, and 24 years of it builds up. But I'm still living here 8 years later, so you can do it. Other advice that I would have is each person wants to handle things differently. I know many who decided that they were just going to travel and enjoy their hobbies. My hobbies are reading. I'm in a book club that we're very active. We meet once a month religiously and always read the book, not just eat the food and enjoy the beverages. So we're very serious about it. And also I, enjoy the Lost Colony work, which it's still work, but it's so enjoyable supporting that local endeavor as part of my community involvement post-retirement. So I would say think about it in advance. Certainly consider your look at your own budget and what you expect to do, and when you want to start withdrawing your 401ks or whatever you have. I had that when I worked for a private firm, and it's just there's a lot of things to consider. But I did plan it for years before I finally decided, well, 30 years is my magic number. It was hard because I really enjoyed working in Dare County. It was hard to go, but I decided the numbers were lining up. That's what I should do.
And you did some award-winning work. There were those of us that tried to mirror and some of everything, the work that you did there. So what a commendable career. And I didn't know too much about the Virginia work, but I certainly got to witness the excellence by which you performed the work in Dare. So hats off to you for that work, and I'm sure that district is still benefiting from the work that you did. So let's pretend for a minute that you are talking to Mr. or Mrs. brand new superintendent. I'm just getting in the chair, and you have the opportunity to kind of talk about, here's what you need to look out for. Here, talk us through that.
Well, when you're new in a place, one thing I think that is a very good thing to do is don't make immediate changes unless you see something that is just absolutely wrong. It's good to get to know the place where you are and learn their values and their commitments and why they are doing some things the way they are doing. And each place that I went, I saw something at first that I would think, this just won't work. But when I waited and saw how it really did work, I knew it would be a mistake to change it. And then for other things, always try to make the system better. Also, always find a mentor, a friend, another superintendent, an experienced superintendent in whom you can confide and get advice from. Find those supportive people. And listen to the people that are there. Try to find out more about what their experience is before you arrived. And each place where I was superintendent, I came from the outside. I was not an inside person, so I had to learn the culture and kind of the expectations, and then set about with a vision. You always try to take a place where you are and take it further ahead than they are. So build on what they have to help them make it better. And it's not a one-person job. You need to build your team. That's another thing I would say. Build your team. You can find some hidden jewels inside that organization that are there ready to shine, and maybe they haven't been called on yet, but they are there. And you can find some jewels inside any organization that are just excellent people that have wonderful ideas to help achieve the district's goals and vision.
So thank you for that. Those are excellent nuggets. How about the same thing for today's brand new teacher?
Brand new teacher. Yeah. Wow. I think of my own experience as a brand new teacher, and really it was a wonderful year. But I came in, I think I was hired like the day before the kids came in, and it was a whirlwind for me. But also take advantage of any professional development opportunities that your school, division, or district provides. Find some teachers within the school that are experienced and teachers with a good reputation that you can go to, and always look for positive people. Look for positive people that you want to put yourself around, the people that are happy in the job they're doing. And sometimes if you let yourself be surrounded by people that are not happy, it affects your first year as anything, but especially as a teacher. So find those teachers with good reputations who are happy and like the job they're doing, and trying to soak up all the knowledge you can from them, take all the professional development you can. And it's hard to be a first-year teacher, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Do you think does that change? Most teachers, certainly when I started, I won't put a date on you, but when I started, most teachers were traditional education majors. And I think you you're a secondary ed major. I came out of the business and industry world, and that's probably why I'm still working. But anyway, do you think that changes with today's teacher who is not an education major, or are the suggestions still the same? Very much.
I think, and I haven't lived that experience of coming in from outside the field. So, but I did witness that because we had so many second career teachers, and in Dare County, those were some of our best teachers. We had some who came from, I'm thinking of a school board member who was in the local construction. His name is Skip Saunders, and he became the carpentry teacher extraordinaire at First Flight High School. And so there is an opportunity for people to come from the business world into teaching and do a wonderful job. But I didn't mean to imply that our traditional teachers were not outstanding too. Sure. I was very fortunate to have in Dare County just extraordinary teachers, and that's one of the major reasons for the success of the county then and still is, and with the good leaders that have come behind me have built on that.
Yeah, I actually think the very best districts have a healthy mix of both. Both the education majors as well as those of us, and I might be a little biased about that, but those of us who didn't necessarily come to the traditional route to start with. I had worked for some years in manufacturing before I started this work of education. Believe it or not, Dr. Burgess, which I had promised myself I'd never do because I watched my mama do it for 35 years. And anyway, I said I'd never be an educator, and here I am about to wrap up year 27. So I guess you should never say what you're not going to do, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Dr. Burgess, is there anything else that I have not covered that you think might be of interest to our audience tonight as they're viewing us?
I'm sorry, the screen froze up just a moment, and I didn't hear the beginning of your question.
Yep. So is there anything else that I missed that you might want to cover before we end the show?
I just want to say that public education is very underrated and undervalued. It's the best thing we have going in our country, and we need to make it stronger and support it more. And I just admire all the people that I worked with along the way. And if any of them are listening, I want to say how much I appreciate their support. And to all the school board members that I worked with, if you're a superintendent for 24 years, you work with a lot of school board members, and most of them were very, very extraordinary people who helped me in my career. So I want to say thank you. And to all educators out there, keep up the good work. Keep your head high. I know it's hard, and keep doing it because it's what our kids and students need. It's what makes America great.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Burgess, if you'll hold on with me for a minute, we'll come back and close out the show.
Thank you.
To the Wright Experience audience, as you see, once again, we are able to secure a guest that has a wealth of knowledge and educational leadership. And as you heard her talk about the work that she's doing now, post 24 years working as a school superintendent and many more as a classroom teacher and administrator, you see that we have some very outstanding leaders to glean and learn from. As this show continues to evolve, we're going to continue to look to find the very best people that we can find to continue to do this work as an excellent level as we possibly can. We've got some guests lined up for you coming up that I think you will certainly enjoy. But we're always looking for and expecting and looking to you to suggest to us people to interview, people to talk with, people to learn from, people to grow because of their expertise and experience. This forum, this show is open to not only leaders in education, but leaders across all genres, entrepreneurs. We're trying to work to expand our portfolio day by day. Around the 1st of May, we will also talk about the sponsor that I've been talking about the last couple of months. We'll have that sponsor board. We will talk very succinctly about the work that sponsor is going to be providing to to businesses and industries and schools across the nation. We're looking forward to revealing that very shortly, as well as continuing to bring you the very best content that we can on this podcast. And we thank you as we're going into surpassing year 4, going into year 5 of this work. We certainly appreciate those of you that have been dedicated to us. Thank you for the comments and all the work that goes into this work. And we're going to continue pressing forward to do this work as excellent level as we can. Dr. Burgess, I want to thank you so much. This forum is open to you. Anytime you want to come back and talk with us, if there's some hot topics that we need to know about, then we're certainly thankful to that. And I just want to thank you, as you've done for those of us that are in the day-to-day grind of working to improve student outcomes. I want to thank you for the service that you provided for those 30 years and are continuing to provide. But I also want to thank you as a fairly young superintendent, just sitting down across the table while we were having lunch, sharing your knowledge and wisdom. I certainly appreciate it and thank you about that. And you even taught me a lot about how to do retirement. You probably don't know or remember that conversation, but I certainly do, and am thankful for that, and probably benefiting just a little bit right now as we speak from some of the knowledge that I learned from you. So just thank you for that, and thank you for your expertise.
Thank you, Dr. Wright, for the opportunity to be here and for you providing starting the 5th year of the Wright Experience to share important educational topics with your audiences.
Thank you. Thank you. And to the Wright Experience audience, thank you and good evening.